streaming live on Facebook at TV3 Ghana. My name is Safwa Buahine. The news bulletin starts now. Education committee set up to review Ghana's educational sector to start stakeholder engagement today. President Mahama calls for Africa to reduce dependence on external funding by mobilizing domestic resources. And also local government and Chieftaincy Affairs Minister to collaborate with National House of Chiefs to tackle chieftaincy disputes in the country. We have details and many more of these coming up shortly. Many thanks for joining us this morning. Let's settle for the details now to our first story. The Ministry of Education will start today begin reviewing the challenges in the education sector. The forum will focus on education financing, the infrastructure gap, and the role of teachers in transforming education for a sustainable future. Chairman of the 8-member Education Planning and Review Committee, Professor George Odro, has been speaking about the conference.
Have the right data that you can plan to ensure that the teacher's time is used appropriately and rewarded appropriately. In whole, we have panel discussions that will involve parents, involve students, involve parents. So we have planned the thing in such a way that every person, every category of people, including parents, will have their voice heard. How do we meet the needs of learners? Especially if we reference the senior high school, free senior high school, how do we ensure that we sustain funding of the secondary school so quality, equity within the context of access or access indexed quality and equity are achieved? We need quality people who would develop quality issues, come out holistically developed. The heart balancing the heart with the head and the hand, so that we get the Ghanaian we want.
Well, meanwhile, Dr. Peter Patti Anti, who is the Executive Director for the Institute for Education Studies, IFEST, says the review must consider all levels of education in the country since they are interrelated.
So if you look at the education sector, it operates like an octopus. There are so many branches, and unfortunately, you cannot touch one branch without dealing with the other. So I think that you look at the outline that they are put together, they are touching on quality education, they are touching on education infrastructure, they are touching on, I think, curriculum, they are touching on financing and other areas. It is important that you touch all these variables to ensure that you are reaping the benefits of your interventions, because you cannot decide to fix the problem of financing when you have other places like curriculum, teacher issues not being dealt with. So I think that you don't need to focus on one area, you need to focus on the various areas or subsectors within the education system and ensure that you are bringing them together to achieve a common goal, which is improve learning outcomes and ensure that the students become productive to the entire economy. Again, in terms of level, I think that you cannot pick and choose, because you need a very solid foundation, which is the basic level, to be able to build on at the secondary level. You need a very good secondary education to be able to ensure that those at the tertiary level, those who are moving to the tertiary level and those who are going to the world of work are adequately prepared for the task ahead of them. So you need to touch all levels, and I think that is the understanding that I've had in terms of the preparation towards the program coming this week. Yes, so every level will be touched, every important aspect of the education system will be touched, and I think at the end of the day, a comprehensive idea as to the focus of our education will be presented to the people of Ghana.
Let's still remain in the education sector, because inadequate school infrastructure coupled with a lack of furniture has compelled pupils of an Islamic primary school located in Kurugu in the Sagnerigu municipality to sit on the bare floor. This has severely affected academic progress and created an uncomfortable learning environment for the students. My colleague Christopher Mwakon has more in the following report.
Istakafatil Azariah Islamic Primary School was established in 2007 by a private individual as a private Islamic school. In 2018, the school was absorbed by the Ghana Education Service. Currently, the school has a student population of fewer than 300 pupils, ranging from kindergarten to primary 6. Despite being absorbed by the government, the school has not received any major intervention. The school is faced with inadequate infrastructure, insufficient staff, and a shortage of teaching and learning materials.
Structure is one of our main challenges. We don't have enough classrooms for the school. So because of that, we have combined some of the lower classes, especially KG1 and KG2 are combined in one class. Primary 1 also we have a challenge.
And our basic 4 is in one uncompleted building, not even for the school. Somebody have to lend us his uncompleted building for us to use it as a classroom for business.
As a result, school enrollment has been affected and many children are deprived of an effective education due to these challenges.
Deficit of furniture. The students lie on their bellies to write. They sit on the floor to listen to their teachers, and when exercises are given, because of lack of furniture, they lie on their bellies to write.
Because we don't have furniture in our school uniform gets dirty, and our boots too also get dirty.
The Sanargu Municipal Assembly and other stakeholders in education must take immediate steps to improve the infrastructure at the school to address the challenges faced by both pupils and teachers.
We want to plead if we can get furniture, we can get tables and chairs for the teachers, and then infrastructure as I mentioned.
Across rural Ghana, this issue is not unique to Istakafatil Azariah Islamic Primary School. Many rural schools face similar challenges, such as overcrowded classrooms, inadequate facilities, and limited access to educational resources. These conditions significantly impact the quality of education and prevent students from reaching their full potentials.
So a lot of schools with dilapidated school infrastructure. There are even so many other schools that are run under trees and some under makeshift environment provided for by the local communities. And yet we pride ourselves as a country that has a decentralized government system that seeks to bring governance to the doorsteps or to the local level.
According to an alert from Africa Education Watch dated February 6, 2023, approximately 2.3 million children in public basic schools lack desks. This situation continues to pose a major challenge to the realization of SDG 4 on education, which focuses on ensuring inclusive and equitable quality education and promoting lifelong learning opportunities for all.
The statistics available indicate that Ghana and many other African countries are far off the mark of realizing the Sustainable Development Goal 4. And looking at the trend and looking at the realities in the especially rural communities where we operate, that only buttresses the fact that we are far from really achieving the target by 2030.
It is crucial for the government to invest in rural schools to bridge the disparity in educational resources between urban and rural areas. Christopher Mwako, TV3 News, Gurugu.
A very appalling situation there. We hope the government will attend to their call as soon as possible. Now, moving on, President Mahama has called for African self-reliance in developing or in financing development. President Mahama was delivering the keynote address at the Heads of State and Government Breakfast Dialogue at the AU Commission headquarters in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Your Excellencies, addressing the financing gap requires a multifaceted approach. Domestic resource mobilization is crucial. By improving tax administration and combating illicit financial flows and encouraging a culture of tax compliance, we can significantly increase our revenues. We applaud the African Union Commission for its proactive role in providing capacity building to member states at the continental level and advocating for fair and equitable international tax rules at the global level. The ongoing work on the United Nations Framework Convention on International Tax Cooperation is a critical step towards eliminating base erosion and profit shifting, thus protecting our national revenues. However, domestic efforts alone will not suffice. It is projected that African countries need to increase their median tax to GDP ratios by about 13.2 percentage points to 27.2% of GDP to be able to close the financing gap by 2030. This highlights the need for additional innovative financial resources and reform of the global financial architecture to ensure equitable and inclusive distribution of resources.
Let's do some more stories. The Minister of Local Government, Chieftaincy and Religious Affairs, Ahmed Ibrahim, has reiterated his commitment to collaborate closely with the House of Chiefs to facilitate the swift resolution of chieftaincy disputes across the country. During an engagement with the chiefs, he noted that the ministry plans to empower members of the Judicial Committee to effectively handle adjudication processes.
Nananom, as you are aware, the chieftaincy institution is bedeviled with so many issues. Notably, among them are disputes, succession plan, dissolvement, and in some cases, national security issues. The government of His Excellency the President is committed to resolve the Houses of Chiefs and the traditional authority councils, especially the Judicial Committee, to adjudicate these disputes and find lasting solutions to them. We shall continue to plead with litigants before the judicial committees to cooperate with the committees and allow them for due process to be followed. Nananom, the government is prepared to assist Nananom to resolve these disputes and thereby promote peace within the various traditional areas in the country. The presence of peace in the chieftaincy front will enhance speedy economic development of the country, as well as protect the dignity and pride of the chieftaincy institution.
We are highly invigorated by your pledge of strengthening the chieftaincy institution and supporting traditional authorities to perform their roles in maintaining social cohesion and culture preservation.
Security analysts have called for cooperation among Sahel regional governments against the growing threats of violent extremists. The call stems from revelations by U.S. Republican Congressman Scott Perry accusing the American government of funding activities of extremists through its international development wing, the USAID.
The growing threat of violent extremist organizations in the Sahel threatens to worsen the humanitarian crisis and spread instability across Africa, posing significant security and financial risk to countries where extremist activities are rampant. Groups like Boko Haram in northeastern Nigeria, alongside the Islamic State in the West African province, Al-Qaeda, Al-Shabaab, Tuareg, Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin, and others have been launching attacks on government forces and civilians. A recent revelation by American Congressman Scott Perry has raised concerns. In a viral social media video, the Republican congressman, during the inaugural session of Congress's subcommittee on delivering government efficiency, an advisory body created by the current American administration, accused USAID of funding terrorist activities under the Obama and Biden administrations, calling for an end to these practices.
Your money, $697 million annually, plus the shipments of cash funds madrasas, ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Boko Haram, ISIS Khorasan, terrorist training camps. That's what it's funding. If you think that this money is going for the betterment of the women in Afghanistan, it is not. You are funding terrorism, and it's coming through USAID. And it's not just Afghanistan, because Pakistan's right next door. This has got to end.
Following this revelation, America has come under criticism despite the fact that the congressman's accusations have neither been confirmed nor denied by the American government. Security consultant at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center, Dr. Victor Doke, described the revelation as disturbing, adding the congressman's accusations is just an agenda.
For the U.S. statesman of lawmaker to state this, that he's trying to bring bear or support the claim, not a claim, but the decision made by the President Donald Trump to stop or seize aid, which comes to the USAID for development attendance. So this is probably what I call a mission or an agenda to stop, critically stop aid from coming in to the USAID.
Security analyst Adib Sani called for an investigation into the allegations.
In an attempt to, as it were, stop USAID, I have personally seen a number of allegations leveled against the establishment. But for me, until an investigation is conducted and it is proven beyond reasonable doubt that they are funding terrorism, I see it as conspiracy theory.
For him, identifying, tracing and cutting off all funding sources for violent extremist groups is crucial for restoring peace in the sub-region.
One of the ways to deal with the terrorism menace is to stop their lifeline, which is funds. Okay? If they are not able to get the funding, they will not be able to buy the weapons, they will not be able to recruit, they will not be able to buy the logistics that they need in making improvised explosive devices, the motorbikes they need for transportation, the fuel, etc. Okay, so we are able to stop the funding. It is critical.
Stanley Niblew, TV3 News, Accra.
Now, Ghana's parliament continues to attract attention for the wrong reasons. If it's not near brawls among members of parliament, it's the use of unsavory language and words against one another, putting a dent in the image of parliament and the Ghanaian people. Evelyn Tengma, my colleague in this report, investigates the causes of the growing indiscipline and lawlessness in the parliament.
There is growing concern about the increasing number of young and inexperienced MPs being elected to Ghana's parliament. While some acknowledge the potential of young lawmakers, others emphasize the importance of retaining experienced MPs to uphold the quality of parliamentary debate, governance and discipline. A cross-section of the public is worried that there is a breakdown of discipline in parliament which must be addressed. Over time, discipline has been a concern. Even leaders who are meant to serve as examples to the new MPs were seen raising tables and destroying state property, leaving much to be desired. Some say the lawlessness in the House is getting out of hand as MPs now use their microphones to speak during parliamentary or committee sittings without being recognized by the Speaker or the Chairman.
Honorable Nitiwul, you don't have the floor. Resume your seat. Please resume your seat.
The use of unsavory language is also common. So I ask, what could the problem be?
It has to do with the attitude. So that is what they have transported into Parliament. A lawmaker, instead of making laws and you are breaking laws, and if you are severely punished, I don't think it will continue. I think it's a disgrace and it shouldn't happen in our young democracy.
MP for Esitifi South, Collins Dauda, now the longest serving member of Parliament, also says it is an attitudinal problem.
We also need to have attitudinal change. If you are a member of Parliament, you must know that you have become different from what you were before becoming Parliament. Now, everybody watches you, and so you must conduct yourself in a way that is honorable.
While Professor Abdullahi calls for stiffer punishments to be incorporated into the country's laws and Parliament's standing orders to curb the situation, Collins Dauda advocates for more engagement and compromise.
If people know they are going to be punished for such behavior and severely punished, they are going to change. With anger management, It should be a standing program that people take when they come to Parliament the first time. And the other one is emotional intelligence. I think it's very important if you are going to be in such a leadership position.
To have the caucuses respect one another and for the caucuses to engage before any decision is taken. Leadership on both sides can organize a workshop to educate members about the new ones in order that this does not occur.
Former MP for Subin, Isaac Osei, says the recent happenings in Parliament reflect society.
What goes on in the wider society, and no comments at all from the authorities or those who are in charge of securing, our country. And it all started also recently with respect to the 8 or 9 constituencies which were in dispute, where people felt emboldened to go to these centers and disrupt proceedings. So what happened in Parliament, shocking as it may be, is really a reflection of what is happening in our country. Look, a lot of things happen, people get away with it.
He says the loud silence, usually by law enforcement agencies and government, is what emboldens people to act in such a manner.
The political parties, they have a key role to play in this. Where there are excesses in Parliament, they should be able to tell their members clearly and directly that this is not acceptable. The first time that happened, nothing really happened. And so it gave people the impression that they can do what they want.
Having lawmakers break the laws is obviously not good enough, but as some governance experts would argue, age is not the issue, but attitude. It therefore behoves on the Ghanaian voter to choose people who are well-mannered to represent them in Parliament in order to save their integrity, Parliament as a whole, and Ghana's democracy. Evelyn Tinkma, TV3 News, Parliament House.
Indeed, the recent happenings in Parliament is raising a lot of eyebrows, but right here on TV3, we'll be bringing you all the updates and we'll see what happens next. Moving away from that and doing our last story, the network of women's rights, NetRight, wants the government to specify the percentage of substantive ministerial positions allocated to women versus deputy roles, as well as provide clear metrics for the tracking progress in the NDC manifesto. Executive Director of NetRight, Patricia Kakpo, said there must be 30% women's appointments in each sector of the economy.
An analysis of gender equity and social inclusion provisions in the manifestos of the 2 major political parties has pointed to the need for more detailed plans on how the implementation of policies aimed at increasing women's participation in decision-making processes will be carried out. The analysis was commissioned by the Network for Women's Rights with support from the Foreign Commonwealth Development Office under the UK High Commission on Gender and Social Inclusion Analysis of Political Party Manifestos in Ghana. At a forum to disseminate the findings, stakeholders commended both the ruling NDC and the opposition MPP for targeting gender-specific projects in their various manifestos.
Since NDC is a ruling government, there's much focus on it to see how relevant are these policies in the Jesse lens, to see how effective these are, and also the relevance of the policies, interventions, the strategy for implementation. So really just to in-depth analysis of these policies to see how they align with key Jesse dimensions, indicators and policies.
Meanwhile, Head of Secretariat at NetRight, Patricia Akapo, said political parties had taken women's participations in governance for granted. Therefore, there is a need to scrutinize their manifestos.
We are looking at 30%. It's not an issue of bringing presidential staffers, bringing regional ministers, bringing state, everybody together to say that we have 30%. So this is something that we need to explore. And like I said, as the this is for NetRight, but as the women's movement will come up with our own analysis on whether NDC has been able to do. They said they have done 27 now and it's left with 3%. So we'll come up with our own findings.
Well, that'll be all for the morning news right here on TV3. Many thanks for joining us. Let's do same tomorrow, same time. New day continues right after this breather. Have a nice day.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team